All right, let's dive right into this explainer, and we are starting immediately with a truly chilling first-hand account straight out of the remote Himalayas. We're looking at a case documented in the Chamoli district of Uttarakhand, India. Now, if you know anything about this area, you know it's famous for its absolutely breathtaking beauty, but it's also known for some deep, ancient, and honestly terrifying local lore. Today, we're unpacking a haunting that doesn't just stay in one place. It actually morphs into a generational curse. This entire ordeal is meticulously documented from the experiences of a bank manager named Ram and his family. So let's just get right into how this whole nightmare started. No one has ever stayed in this building. Okay, imagine getting that stark warning, but only hearing it after it's way too late. Put yourself in Ram's shoes for a second. You relocate for this high-level government bank job. You're expecting a standard, quiet posting, right? Only to find out later that literally every single person who held your position before you absolutely refused to sleep in the designated employee quarters. They would just lock up at 5:30 p.m. sharp and flee to rented rooms somewhere else. But Ram didn't know any of this when he moved in. He stepped completely blindly into a space that the entire local community had already agreed to abandon. And the setup of this place? It perfectly engineered his absolute physical isolation before any of the supernatural stuff even kicked off. It's 2008, Ram gets transferred to Chamoli. The bank sets him up on the third floor of this old 4-story building. But here's the catch, the floors above and below him are completely empty. The neighboring houses around the building, abandoned. It was situated on the super secluded outskirts of town, where if you screamed, it literally wouldn't even reach the next occupied house. He was profoundly, entirely alone. Well, that intense isolation was weaponized against him on night one. Around 9 p.m., Ram hears this frantic knocking at his heavy main door, a door he knew for a fact he had just locked. He cautiously opens it. Nothing. Nobody's there. But the exact second that door swings open, the power in his apartment just completely dies. So he's scrambling around in the pitch black of his bedroom trying to find his mobile phone, and his hand brushes against something on his bed. It's a foot. A cold, human foot. In an absolute panic, he finally gets his phone flashlight on, sweeps the room, and it's empty. And when he eventually looks out the window, he realizes every other house in the distance has their lights on. Only his specific meter had tripped. It gets worse. That very same night, Ram experiences something he had never dealt with in his entire 45 years of life, completely debilitating sleep paralysis. But it wasn't just the physical terror of being frozen. As he's lying there, totally paralyzed, his eyes dart over to the open balcony door. And standing right there in the shadows are 5 paralyzed figures, just staring back at him. Now keep this number in your head, 5, because this number is the dark thread that weaves this whole terrifying narrative together. Part 1, the history, Amma's dark past. So after a few days of this escalating terror, a very frightened local coworker finally sits Ram down and reveals the horrifying history of the actual floor he was sleeping on. This dark history unfolded over decades like a massive, tragic domino effect. Years ago, a woman known locally as Amma lived on that exact floor with an abusive, alcoholic husband and their 5 sons. All 5 of these boys were born with severe mental and physical paralysis. After her husband died by suicide, Amma was left totally alone to care for 5 immobile children, and that desperation drove her to some incredibly dark, localized tantric practices. According to the source material, a young couple actually moved into a lower floor at one point and had a perfectly healthy baby. Amma would come visit, feeding the baby what she claimed was the booty, or sacred ash. But within a few short years, that completely healthy baby became totally paralyzed, just like Amma's sons, and eventually passed away. After that tenant's baby died, you can imagine, Amma was completely ostracized by the town. But the local lore gets even darker. Neighbors started reporting seeing Amma out in the fields at the stroke of midnight, and the most disturbing part? Her 5 paralyzed sons, who physically could not walk during the day, were suddenly sitting up, wearing goat horns, and actively participating in these dark rituals, throwing offerings into a roaring fire. The whole neighborhood was living in absolute terror of whatever entities Amma had invited into that space. This all builds to a really gruesome climax. Weeks after those midnight rituals, neighbors start noticing the sickly, sweet smell of burning flesh coming from Amma's apartment. When they finally force the heavy door open, they find that Amma and all 5 of her sons had committed mass suicide. The spiritual stain left on that building was so heavy, so profound, that no local would ever dare step foot in it at night again. And remember, that is the exact room where Ram had been trying to sleep. Part 2. The curse targets Gola, a bloodline haunted. Obviously, upon hearing this history, Ram immediately packs his bags, flees the building, and eventually moves his entire family to a new, safe home. Years go by, Ram's wife gives birth to a beautiful, healthy baby boy they call Gola. Life is finally perfect. But it makes you wonder, right? If you managed to leave a haunted space behind, did it actually leave you? Well, we get a horrific answer to that question pretty quickly. Around 16 months of age, healthy little Gula suddenly just can't stand up. Doctors are baffled. They diagnosed him with unexplained muscle weakness. As the kid grows, he becomes incredibly weak, struggles immensely in school, and develops a really severe stutter. His physical deterioration was inexplicably mirroring the exact paralysis that afflicted Amma's 5 sons all those decades ago. The curse hadn't stayed in that empty building. It had literally attached itself to Ram's bloodline. And the true terror hits when Gola reaches the 4th grade. Out of nowhere, the young boy starts suffering from intense, terrifying sleep paralysis. When his frantic mother asks him what he's seeing, Gola replies, "Mama, 5 uncles come into my room. They hold me down, and I can't move or scream." It was the exact same 5 figures Ram had seen on his balcony years prior. The entity had officially found its new target. Part 3. The Lama's Grim Revelation, a Spiritual Battle. Desperate, completely out of medical options, Ram's family travels to Darchula, right near the India-Nepal border, to consult a powerful Himalayan Lama. This guy is a revered spiritual leader in the region, specifically known for dealing with extreme supernatural phenomena. When the Lama starts looking at the rice grains he uses for divination, he reveals a twist that nobody saw coming. Actually, scratch that. Gola wasn't the one possessed at all. It was Ram. The Lama stated that Ram was acting as a walking vessel for 6 distinct spirits, Amma and her 5 sons. Because Ram was the one who actually survived his time in that house, the spirits attached themselves to him, just quietly feeding off his energy, waiting to consume and destroy his family from the inside out, starting with his vulnerable young son. So, the Lama outlines a strict, ancient protocol to save them, and this wasn't something they could just do in a quiet back room. They had to travel immediately to the remote ancestral village of Nabi. They had to procure exactly 6 live goats, 1 for each spirit attached to Ram, and the entire ritual had to be performed right on the edge of the raging, incredibly dangerous waters of the Kali River. The stakes here are absolutely life and death. But the entities inside Ram, they know exactly what's coming. The night before the exorcism is supposed to happen, Ram's daughter wakes up to use the restroom and witnesses something straight out of a nightmare. Ram had gone completely feral. He's chanting in some unknown ancient language, and he's physically dragging one of these huge goats by its horns through the dirt, pulling it directly toward the deadly currents of the river. It literally takes several grown men in the family to tackle Ram to the ground and physically restrain him until the sun finally comes up. The next morning, it's go time. The ritual commences. As the Lama is chanting and throwing blessed rice, Ram's body starts twisting into these unnatural, horrifying angles. He's laughing maniacally, just staring at his son Gola with pure, unadulterated hatred. As the ritual reaches its peak, the goats are sacrificed to appease the 6 spirits. But in this terrifying final display of the entity's grip, as the blood hits the ground, Ram breaks free, leaps forward, and literally begins to drink the blood directly from his hands, weeping and screaming uncontrollably until he finally just collapses into a deep, deep unconsciousness. Hours later, Ram wakes up. He's completely disoriented. He has absolutely no memory of the river, the chanting, the struggle, or the blood. Nothing. According to the Lama and the family's deep cultural beliefs, it was the direct intervention of their Kul Devta, their ancestral family deity, that ultimately severed the spirit's hold and saved them all. To this very day, the entire family wears specially forged protective amulets provided by the Lama. They deeply believe these talismans are the only thing keeping that generational curse at bay. And the craziest part? Since that exact day, Gola's health miraculously stabilized, and the sleep paralysis vanished completely. We've explored the dark history, the physical manifestation, and this really intense spiritual battle detailed in today's explainer. But when you look at the timeline of Ram's family, it leaves us with a pretty chilling realization about the nature of these types of phenomena. If a curse can attach itself to a person, lie dormant for years, and then attack their children miles and miles away from the original source, it begs the question, if you manage to leave a haunted space behind, does the haunt truly ever leave you? Think about that the next time you step into an empty, forgotten room.